Have you ever felt like you give your best, but people still treat you like an auction? You're always there. You're kind. You go the extra mile. But somehow, you're always second. If you've been wondering what it takes to finally be seen, to be respected, to be valued, not just once, but consistently, then this video is for you. 1. Be present, not just available. You can be in the same room. You can respond to every text. You can pick up every call and still not really be there. There's a difference between being reachable and being present. A difference between showing up and showing up with your full attention in a world where distraction is the default, where everyone is always online, always connected, but rarely truly attentive. Presence becomes rare and valuable. Being present means your mind is not wandering somewhere else while your body is here. It means you're not half listening while scrolling your phone. You're not thinking of what to say next while someone is speaking. You're not planning your escape while pretending to care. To be present is to offer your whole self in this moment. Not just your body, not just your voice, but your attention, your intention, your heart. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." And yet, how often do we retreat into ourselves? Even when others are reaching out for connection, we think presence is about being around, but true presence is about being awake. Try to remember the last time someone really listened to you. Not nodded while distracted, not gave quick advice to shut down the conversation, but really listened, looked at you with no judgment, stayed silent when silence was needed, spoke only after understanding. That moment stayed with you, didn't it? That's the power of presence. It leaves a mark. It makes others feel seen. And when people feel seen, they remember you. Being present is not about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about slowing down, turning off the noise, looking someone in the eye and saying, without words, "I am here with you." Seneca wrote, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." And one of the deepest forms of kindness is giving someone your undivided presence. You don't have to fix their problems. You don't need all the right words. You don't even have to agree. Sometimes you just have to stay, to sit with them in their storm, to not pull away, to not reach for your phone, to not make it about you. People remember that. They may forget your name, forget what you wore, forget what you said, but they won't forget how you made them feel. And presence makes people feel safe, feel respected, feel like they matter. And in a world where everyone is rushing, where time is currency, where most conversations are surface level, your presence becomes a gift, not just to others, but to yourself. Because when you slow down enough to be present with someone else, you're also practicing being present with yourself. You learn to breathe, to listen, to feel. You begin to notice the details, the hesitation in someone's voice, the sadness behind their smile, the gratitude in their silence, and you become more human. Stoicism teaches us not to control others, but to master ourselves. And presence is self-mastery in action. It's saying no to distraction, no to mindless habits, no to performing for the sake of appearing available. It's saying yes to meaning, yes to attention, yes to this moment, exactly as it is. So, if you want to be a priority to others, be the one who is truly there when they need someone. Not the loudest, not the most opinionated, not the most available, just the most present. Reflection for point 1. Presence is rare because it requires sacrifice. It requires the courage to put aside your own agenda, to resist the urge to check out, to be still when the world pushes you to hurry. But when you become someone who offers presence, you become someone people trust, someone people come back to, someone people don't want to lose. Don't strive to be everywhere. Don't aim to be everything for everyone. Just be here, be real, and let that be enough. 2. Master your emotions. Don't be an emotional burden. Everyone has emotions. That's not the problem. Feeling deeply isn't weakness. It's human. It's what connects us, what makes us real. But emotions, when left unchecked, can turn from a natural response into a source of chaos, not just for you, but for everyone around you. There's a difference between expressing how you feel and dumping your emotions onto others, between opening up and making people feel responsible for your inner storms. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher, once said, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." And that's the essence of emotional mastery. Not to suppress your feelings, not to pretend you're unaffected, but to understand, to regulate, to respond, rather than react. Because when you don't master your emotions, they will master you. You become short-tempered, passive-aggressive, unstable. Your relationships suffer. People begin to walk on eggshells around you, not because they don't care, but because they don't know who you'll be today. It becomes exhausting to others and to yourself. And soon, people pull away, not out of cruelty, but out of self-preservation. No one wants to be a dumping ground for someone else's unprocessed emotions. No one wants to feel like they're always responsible for calming you down. So if you want to be valued, if you want to be respected, you must carry your emotions without throwing their weight on others. That doesn't mean being emotionless. Stoicism is often misunderstood as being cold or detached. But true Stoicism isn't about feeling less. It's about reacting less. It's about choosing the wise response instead of the loud one. Picture this. You're in an argument. Someone says something hurtful. Your first instinct is to yell, to defend, to hit back harder. But if you pause, just for a moment, if you breathe and observe what's happening inside you, you create space. And in that space, you find clarity. That's emotional mastery. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's quiet strength. It's walking away when the fight isn't worth it. It's speaking with intention, not impulse. It's choosing peace, even when chaos tempts you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the foundation of emotional mastery. Recognizing that you don't have to be controlled by what happens around you. You can feel sadness without becoming bitter. You can feel anger without turning cruel. You can feel hurt and still act with dignity. And when you do that, when you show up with calm energy, with a steady presence, with emotional responsibility, people feel it. They trust you more. They lean on you, not because you demand attention, but because you bring peace. You become the person people want to keep around, not the one they avoid when things get hard. But let's be honest, emotional mastery isn't easy. It takes time. It takes self-awareness. It takes unlearning years of habits, explosive reactions, silent treatment, guilt-tripping, blaming, projecting. But it's worth it, because people remember how you make them feel. And when you're the one who can stay calm in chaos, who can express feelings without turning them into weapons, you become a rare presence in a world full of emotional noise. You don't drain people. You energize them. You don't demand space. You earn it. You don't become their project. You become their peace. So next time you feel overwhelmed, don't rush to release it onto someone else. Pause. Write it down. Go for a walk. Talk to someone you trust, someone who's agreed to hold that space. Not everyone should carry your emotions. It's your job to process them before they poison your connections. People will prioritize you when they feel safe with you, not when they feel trapped by you. Don't make others responsible for soothing the wounds you haven't faced. Do the inner work. Learn your patterns. Challenge your reactions. And most importantly, own your growth. Reflection for point 2. Being emotionally matured doesn't mean you never feel broken. It means you learn how to carry your brokenness without breaking others. It's choosing to heal so you don't keep hurting the people who care about you. Mastering your emotions doesn't happen overnight, but every small effort matters. Every time you pause instead of explode. Every time you reflect instead of react. Every time you choose understanding over assumption, you grow stronger. And with that strength, you become someone others turn to, not run from. You become a presence people respect, because your energy is grounded, not chaotic. So remember this. Feel deeply, speak honestly, but carry your emotions with wisdom. Don't be just another storm in someone's already difficult life. Be the calm they never saw coming. 3. Respect others' time and commitments. Time is one of the most valuable things we have, and once it's gone, we don't get it back. You can always make more money. You can rebuild a reputation. You can fix a broken object, but you can't rewind time. That's why when someone gives you their time, even just a few minutes, it's not a small thing. It's a gift. In today's world, where everyone's overwhelmed, overbooked, and constantly rushing, respecting someone's time isn't just polite. It's powerful. It tells them, I see you. I value you. I won't waste what matters to you. Yet so many people are careless with time. They show up late, cancel last minute, overpromise and underdeliver. They treat other people's schedules as flexible, as if the world should wait on them. But when you do this often, people begin to take note. They may not say anything, but they feel it. They feel dismissed, unimportant, secondary, and slowly they stop prioritizing you because you never truly prioritized them. Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on what we can control. You can't control how busy someone else is, but you can control how you show up. Show up on time. Follow through with what you say. Don't commit to things you know you can't keep. And when something changes, communicate early. Don't leave others guessing. When someone makes space in their day for you, honor that space. Don't treat it like filler. Don't assume you can come and go as you please. Imagine this. You make plans with a friend. They set aside their evening for you. They could have said yes to something else, but they chose you. Then you arrive 30 minutes late. No message, no apology. You scroll through your phone during dinner. You cut the night short because something came up. It might not seem like a big deal to you, but to them, it says everything. It says, you're not as important as whatever distracted me. Over time, moments like that build walls between people, not because of one single event, but because of a repeated message. My time matters more than yours. Now think about this from a Stoic lens. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, don't waste the rest of your life worrying about others. Instead, be concerned with how you use your time. This applies not just to how we spend time, but how we respect it in ourselves and in others. If you value your own time, you'll naturally begin to value the time of those around you. You'll say no more often. You'll be clear with your commitments. You'll stop double booking, ghosting, or flaking out. Not because you want to look responsible, but because you are. People notice reliability. They remember those who show up when they say they will, who deliver what they promise, who respect the energy it takes to plan something, to prepare, to simply be there. And on the other side, they also notice those who are inconsistent, who waste their time, who treat commitments like optional suggestions. If you want to be a priority to others, start by showing that they are a priority to you. Respect isn't built with grand gestures. It's built with small, consistent actions. Being 5 minutes early, sending a message when you're delayed, saying thank you for someone's time, following up when you say you will. None of this is hard, but it's rare. And in a world where people feel constantly rushed, ignored, and unseen, being someone who respects time is refreshing. It stands out. It tells others, I don't take you for granted. That message matters. It builds trust. It creates space for deeper connection. You may not always agree with someone. You may not always like what they have to say, but respecting their time is the first step in showing that you respect them. And that respect, over time, turns into something solid, something lasting, something worth protecting. Reflection 4.3. Time is a mirror. It shows what we truly value, not what we say we care about, but what we're willing to make room for. If someone keeps showing up late, if they cancel often, if they only remember you when it's convenient, you start to feel like a backup plan. But when someone is consistent, when they protect your time like they would their own, you feel seen. So ask yourself, how do you want to be remembered? As someone who's always too busy, always scrambling, always apologizing, or as someone who shows up, prepared, present, reliable? Because those are the people who are trusted, respected, valued. In the end, it's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. Treat others' time with care, and you'll find yourself prioritized, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. 4. Offer value without demanding attention. In a world obsessed with visibility, where people post everything, where likes, views, and comments have become the new form of validation, it's tempting to believe that value only exists when it's noticed. That if no one sees your contribution, if no one claps for your efforts, if no one applauds your kindness, then maybe it didn't matter at all. But that's not true, and it's certainly not Stoic. Real value doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't shout. It simply is. To offer value without demanding attention, that's maturity, that's strength, that's freedom. Epictetus once said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. In other words, don't talk about how helpful you are. Be helpful. Don't tell people how wise you are. Act with wisdom. Don't seek applause for doing what's right. Do what's right anyway, because the minute your kindness becomes a performance, it stops being kindness. It becomes currency, something you're trading for approval. But true contribution isn't transactional. You give because it aligns with who you are. You help because it's in your nature. You support others because you can, not because you're chasing credit. Think about it. The most impactful people in your life were probably not the loudest. They didn't make everything about them. They didn't interrupt the room to prove their worth. They simply showed up, quietly, consistently, with presence, with effort, with integrity. They offered value without saying, Look at me. And that's exactly why you did look. When you offer value from a place of sincerity, people notice. Maybe not immediately, maybe not with fireworks and applause, but over time, they feel it. They trust you. They respect you. They prioritize you because you're not a burden. You're not always seeking attention. You're offering something real: insight, support, peace, solutions, a listening ear. It's the difference between showing up to serve versus showing up to be seen. And in a world where everyone is trying to be seen, those who focus on serving stand out. Stoicism teaches us to let go of external validation, to root our worth not in what others say, but in what we are, not in recognition, but in alignment with virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." This is the heart of it. Be valuable, even when no one's watching. Be reliable, even when no one says thank you, because your worth isn't tied to visibility. It's tied to character. Now, this doesn't mean you shouldn't speak up for yourself. It doesn't mean you should let people walk over you. It means you don't let ego hijack your contribution. You can be visible without being attention-seeking. You can share your gifts without chasing applause. You can be helpful without needing to be the hero. Think of it like a lighthouse. It doesn't scream. It doesn't chase ships. It simply stands tall and shines, consistently, silently, guiding those who need it. That's what value looks like. Unshaken by recognition, unmoved by applause, steady, unapologetic, purposeful. And ironically, the less you seek attention, the more trustworthy you become, because people can sense the difference. They know when someone's helping just to be seen, and they know when someone's helping because it's simply who they are. So instead of asking, "How can I get noticed?" ask, "How can I be useful?" Instead of demanding space, earn it through value, through action, through quiet consistency. Because when people feel your presence brings something meaningful, they will want you around, not because you asked, but because you earned it. Reflection for point 4. The world already has enough noise, enough people shouting for attention, enough shallow influence. What it needs more are people who lead from behind, who lift others without needing credit, who create value without demanding eyes. And ironically, those are the people we remember most. The friend who showed up when no one else did, the coworker who helped without asking for praise, the mentor who shared wisdom and then stepped back. That's the kind of person who becomes unforgettable. So don't waste your energy chasing attention. Put that energy into building real worth. Not the kind you post online, but the kind that lives in how you treat others, how you show up, and how you carry yourself when no one's watching. When you stop chasing applause, you free yourself to do work that actually matters. Work that lasts. Work that touches people deeply. Offer value, and let your value speak for itself. Not to impress, but to serve. Not to shine louder, but to shine truer. That's how you become a priority, not by demanding attention, but by deserving it. 5. Build integrity, not image. There's a quiet war happening around us, a war between how we appear and who we really are. Social media has made it easy to build an image. You can edit, filter, curate, and craft a version of yourself that looks flawless. You can project confidence, wisdom, and success, even when your inner world is falling apart. But Stoic philosophy reminds us that what truly matters is not how others see you, but how you are when no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Not look like one. Not act like one when people are watching, but be one." Integrity is who you are in the silence. It's how you behave when there's nothing to gain. It's the decisions you make when no one will ever find out. And in a world obsessed with image, integrity has become a rare form of rebellion. We live in a culture where perception is often more valuable than reality. People chase validation. They build brands instead of character. They ask, "How can I look successful?" Not, "How can I be honest, even when it costs me something?" But here's the truth. Image can be bought. Integrity must be earned. Image fades the moment it's challenged, but integrity holds, even under pressure. When your image is all you have, one mistake, one exposed lie, one moment of weakness, and the whole thing comes crashing down. But when you've built yourself on something real, when your inner life matches your outer words, you're unshakable. You don't fear being found out because you're not hiding anything. You don't panic when people criticize because your worth isn't tied to praise. You don't need to impress because you know who you are and who you're not. Building integrity means making hard choices. It means telling the truth even when it's uncomfortable, keeping promises even when it's inconvenient, taking ownership even when it would be easier to blame. It means choosing the long road, not the shortcut that leads to attention but emptiness. It means turning down opportunities that don't align with your values, even when no one would judge you for saying yes. And yes, sometimes people with integrity get overlooked. Sometimes they're not the first ones promoted. Sometimes their names don't go viral. But when people are tired of smoke and mirrors, when they're looking for someone real, with depth, with consistency, with honor, they will come looking for you. Because people may be impressed by your image, but they will only trust your character. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." This applies not just to wealth, but to status, validation, approval. If you're constantly chasing a better image, you'll always feel lacking, always feel like you're performing, always afraid that the mask will slip. But integrity doesn't require performance. It requires presence and courage and honesty. It's quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't try to impress. It just is. And over time, that quiet strength becomes magnetic. People begin to trust you with their time, their attention, their respect, not because you shouted, but because you showed up day after day with alignment between your words and your actions. And when life gets hard, because it will, your image won't save you, but your integrity just might. When relationships get strained, when business deals fall apart, when reputation is challenged, people won't ask, "What does this person look like online?" They'll ask, "Can I count on them? Are they honest? Are they who they say they are?" And if your answer is yes, that's real power. Reflection for point 5. In the end, you have a choice. You can spend your life polishing the outside or strengthening the core. You can chase applause, or you can pursue alignment. You can become a character you play, or become someone you're proud of when it's just you and your conscience. Don't build a life that looks good, but feels hollow. Don't sell out your values for popularity. Don't trade truth for trends. Build slow if you must. Grow quietly if you must. Be misunderstood for a while if you must. But stay true, because when the noise dies down, when the hype fades, when the crowd moves on, the only thing that will remain is your name, your choices, your character, your integrity. Let that be enough. Let that be everything. 6. Respond with wisdom, not reactivity. Life will press your buttons. People will misunderstand you. You'll be cut off in traffic. Someone will criticize you unfairly. You'll feel insulted, overlooked, betrayed. And in those moments, your first instinct is to react, to defend, to attack, to make it known that you've been wronged. It's human nature, but Stoicism teaches us that we're capable of more than our first impulse. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that's the key. Strength doesn't lie in how loud you can respond. It lies in how still you can remain before choosing how to respond. Reacting is easy. It's automatic. It's emotion without reflection. It's anger without aim. Responding with wisdom, that's something else. That's presence. That's patience. That's power held in restraint. In a world where everyone is reacting to everything, every tweet, every headline, every disagreement, the person who pauses, who breathes, who thinks before they speak, that person stands out. Not because they're silent, but because their words mean something. Reactivity is like fire. It feels powerful in the moment, but it burns everything in its path. Wisdom is like water, calm, steady, life-giving. When you respond with wisdom, you don't just protect your peace. You protect your relationships. You protect your reputation. You protect your integrity. Let's be honest. How many moments in life have you regretted because you reacted too fast? That text you sent out of anger, that comment you made without thinking, that door you slammed, that person you pushed away. Emotional outbursts may feel good for 5 minutes, but they often leave consequences that last years. Now think about the times you paused, the times you chose silence over shouting, the times you waited before responding, the times you let someone else's words pass through you without absorbing the poison. Those moments felt different, didn't they? They felt stronger, more aligned, more you. Because the truth is, reactivity is based on ego. Wisdom is rooted in principle. Reactivity says, "How dare they talk to me like that?" Wisdom says, "What part of me feels threatened and why?" Reacting asks, "How can I win this argument?" Responding asks, "Will this still matter in a week or a year?" Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." You don't have to control other people. You don't have to control the world, but you must learn to govern yourself. That is Stoicism, and the way we govern ourselves begins with one small habit: the pause. That sacred pause between stimulus and response. Someone insults you, pause. Someone disappoints you, pause. Someone challenges you publicly, pause. In that pause, you regain control. You invite reason. You make room for principle to rise above pride. And no, it doesn't mean you become passive. It doesn't mean you never stand up for yourself. It means you choose your battles. And you choose your tone. You don't swing wildly at everything that upsets you. You respond with clarity, not chaos. Because when you speak with wisdom, people listen, not just because of what you say, but because of the energy you bring. You're calm in crisis, grounded in conflict, steady in storms, and that energy becomes your strength. Your presence becomes valuable. People come to trust you because they know you won't take a load. You won't lose yourself in anger. You won't betray your values just to prove a point. Reflection 4.6. The world doesn't need more noise. It doesn't need more impulsive reactions, more shouting matches, more posts written in rage. It needs people who know how to pause, who are thoughtful with their words, who choose peace, not because they're weak, but because they're wise. Every day, you're given hundreds of choices. Will you react, or will you respond? Will you defend your ego, or uphold your principles? Remember, no one can take your power to choose how you respond. That power is yours, always. Use it wisely, and you won't just earn respect, you'll earn peace, because true strength isn't in how loudly you react, it's in how quietly you respond with intention. That's how you become a calming presence in a reactive world. That's how you become someone others look to, not just when things are easy, but when things fall apart. Respond with wisdom, not to be admired, but to stay aligned with your values, with your purpose, with your higher self. That's how you rise. 7. Be a supporter, not a silent rival. Have you ever noticed how quiet some people become when it's your turn to shine? They were talkative yesterday, but today, when you get good news, they go silent. No congratulations, no excitement, just a smile that doesn't quite reach their eyes. A nice that sounds more like a formality than real joy. It's subtle, but you can feel it. You can feel the hesitation, the tension, the invisible line that separates real supporters from silent rivals. And here's the uncomfortable truth. We've all been there, not just on the receiving end, but on the giving end too. Someone else gets what we wanted: a promotion, a relationship, recognition, success. And instead of cheering, we shrink, we compare, we feel threatened. We nod politely, while secretly asking, why not me? This is where Stoic wisdom becomes a mirror. It forces us to look inward, not to judge ourselves, but to understand. Because comparison is human, but staying stuck in silent rivalry, that's a choice. And it's a choice that will cost you peace and meaningful relationships. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, stop performing, stop competing for appearances, start focusing on who you are, not on how you rank. Being a silent rival may keep your ego safe, but it keeps your heart isolated. You may pretend to support someone, but people feel energy more than they hear words. They can sense insincerity. They can feel when the room gets colder after they succeed. They may not call you out, but they'll remember. And eventually, they'll stop sharing good news with you. Not because they don't care, but because they don't feel safe. Now, contrast that with the people who genuinely cheer for others. The ones who celebrate others' wins as if they were their own. Who clap even when they're not on the stage. Who support even when life is hard for them. Those people, they are rare, but they're unforgettable. Because in a world full of competition, sincerity shines. To be a supporter instead of a silent rival is to choose maturity over ego, abundance over scarcity, connection over comparison. It means learning to admire without envy, to appreciate without needing to be included, to recognize that someone else's light doesn't dim your own. Think about this. The sun and the moon exist in the same sky, yet they never compete. One rises, the other rests. They both shine in their own time. If you find yourself shrinking when others rise, pause, reflect, ask yourself, what does their success really take away from me? Usually, nothing, but ego wants to convince you otherwise. It whispers that there's not enough room, not enough attention, not enough success to go around. But that's false. The truth is, someone else's win doesn't mean your loss. Their applause doesn't mean your silence. Their celebration doesn't mean your absence. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what is within our control. You can't control who gets chosen. You can't control life's timing, but you can control how you respond. Will you withhold your support out of pride? Or will you choose to uplift others with grace? One path leads to isolation, the other to connection, respect, and peace. And here's the beautiful twist. When you become someone who supports others, people remember. You build trust. You become someone others want around. Not because you flatter, but because you genuinely care. That's how you become a priority to others. Not by being the loudest voice in the room, not by collecting wins to prove your worth, but by being someone who adds value to other people's moments. Someone who holds space. Someone who celebrates even when life hasn't handed them a win yet. That's strength. That's humility. That's leadership. Reflection 4.7. We live in a world that rewards individual success, but it's emotional maturity that builds lasting relationships. It's easy to cheer when things go your way, but the real test is this. Can you cheer for someone, even when you're still waiting for your turn? Can you support others without making it about you? Because when you do, you don't just show who they are to you, you show who you are to them. That's how trust grows. That's how bonds deepen. That's how your presence becomes valuable to others, not as a competitor, but as a constant. So the next time someone around you succeeds, don't retreat into comparison. Step forward, clap, smile, genuinely. Let your energy say, I see you. I'm happy for you. I'll be here when it's your time, and when it's mine. That's how you become a supporter. That's how you leave behind rivalry. That's how you become a presence people want in their lives. Not out of pity, not out of politeness, but out of respect. Because in the end, character speaks louder than success, and those who support others will always be supported in return. 8. Embrace solitude without neglecting connection. In today's world, solitude is often misunderstood. People confuse it with loneliness, or assume that when you seek time alone, it must mean you're broken, antisocial, or avoiding something. But Stoicism teaches something different, something deeper. Solitude isn't isolation. It isn't withdrawal. It's a return to the self. It's the quiet space where clarity is born, where reflection takes place, where growth begins. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And to truly see the difference, we must pause long enough to hear ourselves, to sort the noise from the truth. Solitude allows for that pause. It teaches us to listen, not to the world, but to our inner compass. And yet, solitude, when taken to extremes, can become a trap. Too much time alone, and we begin to mistake self-preservation for self-protection. We start thinking we don't need anyone. We start building walls instead of boundaries. And over time, the very solitude that once healed us now isolates us. So the Stoic path is not about choosing between solitude and connection. It's about balancing both. It's knowing when to be alone and when to open your heart. It's knowing when to pull away and when to lean in. Think of solitude as a retreat, not a hiding place, a space you enter to recharge, so that when you return to the world, you show up with intention, not exhaustion. There's wisdom in stepping back, But there's also courage in stepping forward, to reconnect, to share, to be seen, because no matter how strong we are, no matter how independent, we were not built to live life entirely alone. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, ruled an empire, yet he wrote to himself, night after night, in quiet reflection. He embraced solitude, but he also understood the value of others. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. And love requires connection. To live well, you must go inward, and then return outward, from a place of stability." So how do you do this? How do you embrace solitude without falling into isolation? It starts with intention. Be alone not because you're avoiding people, but because you're meeting yourself. Spend time in stillness. Read, write, walk. Observe your thoughts without judgment. Let silence shape you, but don't stay there forever. After the silence, share what you've learned. Give others the gift of your presence. Listen deeply. Offer warmth. Offer honesty. Don't isolate under the illusion of independence. Real strength isn't, "I need no one." It's, "I can stand on my own, but I still choose to walk with others." There's beauty in being self-contained, but there's also beauty in being available. Not for everyone, but for the few who matter. Choose meaningful relationships, not constant distractions. Choose solitude, not emotional detachment. You don't need 100 shallow conversations. You need a few real ones. You don't need to be the center of every room. You just need to feel safe in your own skin. When you master solitude, you stop chasing company out of fear. You stop begging for attention. You stop compromising your peace just to feel less alone. And when you master connection, you stop building walls that no one can reach through. You start allowing people in, not to complete you, but to join you on the journey. Reflection for point 8. Solitude is not the enemy, but neither is connection. Both are sacred. Both are necessary. The quiet makes you stronger. The people make you softer. You need both. Don't let the world push you into extremes. You're not weak for needing time alone, and you're not needy for craving human connection. You are whole when you learn how to balance the two. So make peace with silence, but don't disappear. Make space for others, but don't lose yourself in the crowd. The Stoics believed in inner strength, but they also valued community, family, duty, and love. Live a life where you can sit in silence without restlessness, and sit with others without pretending. That's what makes you calm. That's what makes you grounded. That's what makes you whole. Solitude teaches you who you are. Connection reminds you why it matters. Embrace both. That's how you live well. That's how you become a presence people remember. And that's how you become a priority. Not because you need people, but because you value them, and they feel it. 9. Communicate clearly, without manipulation. Words are powerful. They can heal or they can harm. They can build bridges or burn them to the ground. How we use our words, how we speak, how we write, how we express ourselves, says more about us than we realize. And yet, in our modern world, communication has become a tool of performance, of persuasion, of strategy. Too often, people don't speak to connect. They speak to control. They don't ask to understand. They ask to lead the conversation toward a desired outcome. They compliment, not from the heart, but because they want something in return. They withhold the truth, shape their tone, drop hints instead of speaking plainly. Why? Because they fear rejection, because they want to maintain an image, because they want to win, even in conversations that shouldn't be battles. But Stoicism offers another way, a path rooted in clarity, in honesty, in dignity. Seneca once wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." And if your ambition is to manipulate others, even subtly, you may gain influence in the short term, but you'll lose trust in the long run. True communication isn't about crafting the perfect angle. It's about aligning your words with your values. It's not about sounding smart. It's about being clear. It's not about getting what you want. It's about saying what is true. Now, clarity doesn't mean cruelty, and honesty isn't an excuse to be harsh. You can speak the truth with compassion. You can be direct without being dismissive. You can express what you feel without manipulating how someone else should respond. Let's take an example. Instead of saying, "I guess you're too busy for me," say, "I feel disconnected and I'd like to spend more time together." The first is manipulation, guilt disguised as communication. The second is honesty, vulnerable yet respectful. One pushes the other person into defense. The other invites them into understanding. And that's the difference. When you speak clearly, you give others the chance to respond to your real self, not to a version of you that's edited, rehearsed, or layered in passive aggression. And yes, clear communication is a risk, because you can't hide behind nuance. You can't blame someone for misunderstanding what you never said, but it's a worthy risk, because what you gain in return is trust. People will know where they stand with you. They'll know your yes means yes, your no means no. They won't feel like they're walking on eggshells, trying to read between your lines. And that is a rare gift. Stoicism teaches us that external outcomes are outside of our control, but our own actions, our words, those are always ours. So speak not to impress, not to manipulate, but to represent your truth, clearly and calmly. There's a quiet confidence in people who don't twist their words, who don't rely on silence to punish, or sarcasm to wound. They don't need to dominate the conversation, because their presence already communicates what needs to be known. They speak when it matters. They listen more than they talk. And when they do talk, they do it with care. They speak to connect, not to conquer. They speak to clarify, not to confuse. And in doing so, they become the kind of people others want to talk to, because it feels safe, it feels real. Reflection for point 9. In a world filled with noise, clarity is rare. Sincerity is refreshing. Honesty, real, unpolished honesty, is powerful. You don't need to twist your words to be heard. You don't need to manipulate emotions to get attention. You don't need to hint, guilt, flatter, or pressure. Say what you mean what you say, and let go of the outcome. Because once you communicate with integrity, you no longer have to control the reaction. You become free. Free from overthinking. Free from regret. Free from the exhausting act of playing games. Don't underestimate the peace that comes from clear conversation. And don't underestimate the respect you earn when you speak with directness and kindness. People want to feel seen. They want to be heard. But more than that, they want to understand. Be the person who makes understanding easy. Be the voice that brings clarity, not confusion. That's how you become a presence people trust. That's how you build connection that lasts. Not with charm, not with cleverness, but with courage. The courage to say, "This is what I feel. This is what I need. This is where I stand." And to say it, without manipulation. And 10. Stay rooted in purpose, not approval. Approval feels good. The applause, the recognition, the likes, the validation. It gives you a temporary high, a sense that you matter, that you're seen, that you're enough. But here's the hard truth. Approval is a moving target. One day you're praised, the next you're forgotten. One moment you're admired, the next you're criticized by people who once cheered you on. If your sense of worth depends on approval, you'll always be chasing, always adjusting, always wondering, what do they think of me now? And that's a trap that Stoic philosophy warns us about over and over again. Marcus Aurelius said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Let that sink in. We abandon our own truth just to gain applause from people who may not even know who we really are. We shape ourselves to fit expectations. We hesitate to speak what's real. We dim our light just enough to avoid discomfort, disagreement, or disapproval. But when you do that long enough, you forget who you are. That's why the Stoic answer isn't to hate approval. It's to detach from it, to stop letting it control you, to stop needing it as a condition for showing up fully. Instead, root yourself in purpose. Purpose is not loud. It's not showy. It's not glamorous. Purpose is quiet, steady, unshakable. It's the reason behind your actions, the internal compass that says, "This is why I'm here. This is what I do. This is who I choose to be." Purpose doesn't shift with trends. It doesn't change with popularity. It doesn't bow to public opinion. Purpose is what carries you through the days when no one claps, when no one sees your effort, when people misunderstand you, judge you, or walk away. When you're rooted in purpose, you can keep going. Not because it's easy, not because you feel like it, but because it matters. Think of a tree. If it grows just to be admired, it will bend with every gust of wind. But if it grows from strong roots, it stands tall, even in storms. You too need strong roots, not in approval, but in principle, in service, in truth. There will always be voices telling you to shift, to conform, to play it safe. But your purpose is not about being liked. It's about being useful, being real, being aligned. And ironically, the more rooted you are in purpose, the more people start to respect you. Not because you're pleasing everyone, but because you stand for something, because you're consistent, because you're clear, because you don't break your own values to win temporary affection. Approval may open doors, but purpose keeps you grounded once you walk through them. Approval is addictive, but purpose is liberating. It gives you the strength to say, "I will keep going, even if no one notices. I will speak the truth, even if it makes others uncomfortable. I will serve in silence, even when the crowd is elsewhere. I will not shrink just to fit into someone else's story." That's what Stoicism is. It's not cold detachment. It's focused action. It's choosing what matters over what merely feels good. So the next time you find yourself checking if people are watching, ask instead, am I doing this because it aligns with my purpose, or because I want to be liked? Be honest, because that moment of honesty will define the kind of life you're building. Reflection for point 10. You don't need to be popular to be impactful. You don't need to be loud to be heard. And you certainly don't need approval to live a meaningful life. Don't let the opinions of others become your North Star. Let purpose guide you. Let values root you. Let truth shape you. Because the crowd is fickle. They praise today, they forget tomorrow. But purpose, that stays. It keeps you calm in success, humble in praise, steady in criticism, focused in obscurity. And that steadiness, that's what makes you powerful. Not in a flashy way, but in a deep way. The kind of power that doesn't just impress people, it moves them. So stop chasing applause. Start building something that will last long after the applause ends. Live your life rooted in purpose. Not because it's easy, but because it's right. And when you do, you may not be everyone's favorite, but you will be respected, trusted, remembered. Not for what you pretended to be, but for who you truly were. That is stoic. That is rare. That is enough. In the end, being a priority isn't about demanding attention. It's about becoming someone whose presence adds meaning, whose words carry weight, and whose values stay unshaken. If this spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're on a journey to live with more clarity, depth, and self-respect, make sure to subscribe to help you become who you were meant to be.